Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Cruz.
This is Bryce Vine.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This
East.
is Sebastian Younger.
This is Daryl Ames.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
And now, the Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Hey, this is Pete A. Turner, and we have a great album fight. I've been waiting for this for a long time, and I got to give credit for Mike Lipari for pushing himself into the ring and saying, let's do this thing. And, Mike, one of the things about these bands is they are definitely underrepresented in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. And so, we have, judging with us, 6th or 7th, 8th, 15th time, whatever, lifelong friend, someone I love dearly, someone who I convinced to park his gigantic red car in someone's front yard, actually two someone's front yards, Mike Lipari.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that.
Yeah, no problem. That was a fantastic story.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this fight since we talked about it months ago, so this is going to be fun.
And whose yard did you park the car on?
Oh, it was one of those fire trail entrances. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me do this first. Joining us first time as a guest judge and hopefully returning as a judge many times. 5 doors down from me growing up. We actually recorded our own little radio shows back in the day by taking headphones and talking into those. And
into a tape recorder, cassette recorder.
Yeah, totally. Is another lifelong friend and someone I love dearly. And Corey actually is one of my bellwethers for music, and his sister being a little bit older and a little bit cooler than us by being a couple years older, was able to kind of put these songs and things out in front of us. So part of my music tastes are definitely related to the Farley kids and where we all got to go together. So a hat tip to Corey. And thank you for coming on, and I can't wait. So
happy to be here. I don't know much about music, but I will fake it.
Yes, that's all we need. So Mike and I are driving, and I try to convince him to go from one part of Southampton where we grew up to another part via the Fire Road. This is not really a fire road, though.
Is this the Fire Road by Mitch's house?
This is the one that goes, like, there's an open fence, and it's just a fire break. Really, not a fire road.
Yeah, it was. It started over by Rose. By Rose Drive down at the bottom there.
Right.
And then it went through some apartment complexes that unfortunately had been heavily watered the night before.
Oh.
Pete convinces me this is a viable road, so we're going through there in my big red Fury. Remember that thing?
Oh, God.
Weighed about 5 tons.
And it was at least 20
So we're
feet
going
long.
through this guy's yard. Like I said, it had been heavily watered, so my car got stuck.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there digging a nice big hole with my rear tire, not moving anywhere. And then the dude comes out of his house.
Of course he does.
And there's literally a car 2 feet from his door. And the space is so narrow, 2 feet from the other house's door is the other side of the car. So literally 2 front doors have a huge car. And the other thing is we live on a town that's built on a hill. The car is on a lean. It's got to be 20%. So this car looks like it's going to roll over. It was super safe and everything in terms of that, but the whole scene was ridiculous. And when we're describing how far we went, let's understand this. We made it 1 car length into this grass, and then the car stopped.
Yep. had to go dip into my my money to hire a tow truck to pull our ass out.
So at least the guy didn't come out with a baseball bat.
No, and then Pete and I are there in the guy's front yard replacing the divot that my tire left. It looks great. See ya. We're leaving. Bye.
No harm, no foul. Just a little bit of a messy yard. Anyhow, let's get back to work here. I want to get Richard's analysis, but first, let's get Phil's corner call.
Today's album fight is a 12-round matchup of 2 influential bands from the 80s in a battle of Smiths. In the red corner, with their introspective lyrics and gloomy sounds that help define the gothic rock genre, we have The Cure and their 8th studio album from 1989, Disintegration. And their opponent in the blue corner, one of the most important bands to emerge from the British independent music scene of the 1980s, we have the Smiths. And their third studio album from 1986, The Queen is Dead. Let's get ready to ramble. Take it away, judges.
Yes, Phil, we are going to ramble, that's for sure. Corey's already admitted he has no idea what he's doing. So let's get Richard's analysis. Richard, what do you have for us?
Break out your Doc Martens, your black lipstick, and your clove cigarettes. We're going to Emo Town this episode. And what a great fight we have. The Cure versus the Smiths, two of the most influential post-punk bands of the 80s. But who wins in Disintegration versus The Queen is Dead? Let's turn to the patent-pending numbers to see. This week we had 13 parameters to feed into the machine, and we did have a clear winner. The Queen is Dead. But if you dig into the numbers, you can realistically see this is a much closer match. The score was 4 points for The Cure, 7 for the Smiths. Seems like a blowout at first until you see that there were also 2 ties, which in theory could go to The Cure, making it a 6-7 fight. Plus, The Cure ends up with a 3-1 advantage in the popularity, which typically translates to higher highs. But the Smiths ended up with a 6-1 advantage in critical numbers, which the judges tend to trend towards. Still a win for the Smiths, but just one round going the other way or a knockdown, and we are in split vote territory. So the prediction looks like 6-4 for the Smiths. Don't rule out a split vote or even a potential tie for a judge or even for the fight. Back to you guys.
Hey, well, yeah, there are some variables, 2 highly acclaimed albums, and the whole thing with M&E saying that that Queen is Dead is the greatest album of all time is a bit of a shocker. And
the greatest British album of all time.
Yes.
Great British.
So, but I mean, that's still, you're talking about the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and a lot of great acts. So either way, I can't wait to do this.
I think newer, younger folks have a tendency to really discount the past, though, you know?
But isn't the Smiths, that's 30 plus years ago. That's the past.
Yeah, but to me, those... but, you know, that came out in the 80s. We're kind of 80s guys. I meant people today, if... even our age, they may not appreciate the Beatles as much. Some of the other bands that came out in the 60s and things like that.
That could be. Mike, what are your thoughts going in?
How did the Cure beat any Zeppelin? Or, I mean, the Smiths beat any Zeppelin.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Okay.
So my thoughts coming in, I was an early adopter of The Cure. I think way back with Head on the Door, maybe even a little earlier than that. I got into the Smiths a little bit later. So I probably resonate better with The Cure. But listening to The Queen is Dead again, I hadn't heard it in a while, reminded me just what a great album it is. And the songs on it are so damn funny. When you listen to the lyrics, just listen in, you know, tongue-in-cheek for every single song. While the Cure Disintegration was Robert Smith's, oh my God, I'm about to turn 30 and I haven't written my opus yet album. And so he really wanted to write something memorable. So you can tell just looking at the two of them that Disintegration is much deeper, a lot more thought went into it. And there was a lot of turmoil going on in the band too. They ended up firing one of the founding members, Lowell Tolhurst, who had been playing keys badly during the recording of this album. And they replaced him with Roger O'Donnell, who interviews, I read a couple where he said, the guy was just taking up space. He came drunk all the time, didn't participate, didn't do anything. And finally, they just had to let him go, but still gave him credit on the album because he was a founding member. So both bands were in really different places, but these are really great albums from both bands. Really, I think they were both at the top of their game. So this is a...
Corey, what do you think?
Well, like Mike said, well, for me, Mike, going back to The Cure, just listening to like Pornography, and then getting into actually some of their earlier stuff. Three Imaginary Boys is one of my favorite albums of all time. It's a great album. And then Head on the Door came out, and basically that was one of that is probably my favorite album of all time. But then they came out, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Disintegration. They started kind of getting away from the stuff that I thought made them a great band, although commercially people liked them more. So I'm not exactly sure. It just might be my taste. With the Smiths, Meat is Murder, I recall back in the day walking from the house with my old Panasonic boombox up to, Stupid Stop, and we played, Meat is Murder, that album quite a bit. And this one came out, I think, a year later. Meat is Murder, I think, was 85. This one was 86. I could be wrong. But, right in that same time frame, whereas actually Disintegration came out, I think, 2 years after it or something like that?
Yeah, I think Disintegration's 89.
So that was a little, honestly, by that point, I was getting into, rap was rather large in hip-hop in Benicia, so I was listening to that probably a little more. That may be one of the reasons why I kind of went away a bit, but it was nice to come back and rehear some of the songs. I thought the Cure was the Cure was going to be strong, and then I had forgotten how damn good the Smiths are, so we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and see what happens. Let's do round one, Plain Song versus Queen is Dead. Corey, why don't you kick us off?
Okay. I do know, it's really tough to understand some of the lyrics and the direction people are going. If you ascribe meaning to some of these lyrics, you'll probably be wrong, but, you can ascribe whatever you want. For Plain Song, I gave some information. I was like, it was a really long intro. It was a mellow, kind of slow, chill song. To me, it sounded like in some of the other songs on this, it's kind of a transition song in a movie. It's kind of like when you have the depressed guy walking in the rain. It was kind of a generic Cure song to me. Whereas the Queen is Dead is the actual eponymous name of the album. Just a great song all the way around. I gave it 10-9, Queen is Dead. Queen is Dead takes a round.
All right, Mike, how did you do it?
So Queen is Dead is frankly one of the Smiths' better songs and a great way to start off an album. Morrissey is Morrissey. He has that unique voice. Can't not know it's Morrissey when you hear him. And it's a lively performance. I really like the little soundbite that they start out with. I think it's from a movie that they sampled. And Johnny Marr is his usual amazing guitar self, using the wah-wah pedal pretty rigorously. Rapid fire chords, which he's really well known for, and leading into another motherfucker of a first round, man. These are two really great songs, at least in my humble opinion. Plain Song is a great start to Disintegration. It's a slow burn, which really the whole album is a slow burn. It starts with those little wind chimes, which are really just keyboard effects. And the whole first couple of minutes is mostly keys, showing why they brought in Roger O'Donnell and let Lowell Tolhurst go. The keys really make this song and a lot of the songs in this album. Boris Williams' drums keep great time. He doesn't really get to flex much on this whole album, but he does do a good job of just keeping things moving. And it's just kind of that dreamlike guitar starting in about a minute and a half. The entire band is really part of it when you get to 2.5 minutes where Smith starts singing. And this is something that happens throughout the whole album. The singing starts at between 1 minute and 2.5 minutes in to pretty much every song. So they're all really slow burns. If I had to pick nits, and I had to because these are two great songs, the Queen could have trimmed some of the fade out at the end. And Plain Song probably could have used a haircut just throughout. There's a lot of repetition in there where they could have maybe lost a couple of bars. Minor complaints at best. So these are two tremendous songs in a very close round, which I was still deciding up until about 5 minutes ago. I ended up giving it to the Smiths by just a tiny, tiny margin, 10-9.
All right, for me, Plain Song. This song was enormous. I turned it on and I'm like, oh my gosh! Of course, I know this body of work. Like Mike and Corey, we all had the same kind of musical heart, and so yeah, these songs are well in my catalog. But I started thinking about the other big music bands like the Waterboys and Big Country and Simple Minds. Of course, U2 and The Cure fits into that subgenre quite a bit, and it was just great to hear that. And there's undeniable that this band is still as current with its old music today as it was back then. There's not a lot of dating in this song. But like Mike said, it could use a haircut, and like Corey said, there's a whole lot of walking in the rain kind of transition-y kind of things going on. So I definitely recognize that, and that's sort of where I had my biggest nit to pick with Plain Song. And then Queen is Dead, I think it's just fantastic. You have the patriotic bar song that Mike talked about on old World War II. like, it's this patriotic anthem for them, and so it sort of sets the tone because we're going to talk about the monarchy, and back then the monarchy was sort of pulling. Like now it's really doing well, but back then it was kind of still pulling out of the drags from the 60s and 70s. So there was a lot of doubt, and it's always easy for someone like Morrissey to take a crack at the Queen. So there's some of that's going on. Anyhow, Morrissey and Johnny Marr are just fantastic. Let's not forget Andy Rourke and what he does with the bass throughout the album, but especially in this song. I think that Morrissey and the fellas just get there a little bit better in this song with what they do. Let's go round 2, Pictures of You versus Frankly Mr. Shankly. Good luck, Mike. Take it away.
So Pictures of You is another long lead-in. The singing starts at 1:40. And I've got notes for when the singing starts for all the songs. I don't think I'm going to name them all. But this might hurt the Cure later. But at this point, I'm still enjoying the songs. And I don't think any of the lead-ins are too long to really work against them in the fight. This is a really great love song, especially on a dark album like Disintegration. It's a song of longing, but sure, what do you expect from the Cure? It's all about longing and lost loves. A lot of the most popular songs are really about that. And if you look at Frankly Mr. Shankly, it's cute but short. It's one of the shortest songs on both albums. While I really love the closing line, "You're a flatulent pain in the ass," and I think that's something I might use again sometime in my life, it's not enough to beat the Cure. I think Pictures is just a better song overall. But this is another really close round. I give this one to the Cure 10-9.
All right. Well, for me, round 2, Pictures of You, it's just beautiful. And when everything starts to come together, this is what you get from the Cure. You get these, like this song is a lot like Plain Song, but it's just better. So the intro is really long, like you said, Mike. It creates, in this case, a lot of gorgeous textural moments, and I like that. And it does put you into the place that you need to be. You sort of have this character that Robert Smith, if you want to, like Corey said, ascribe anything to these lyrics, where you can kind of wallow in what he's doing, or you can really embrace this kind of forlorn love song that he puts together. But it's just a heck of a song, and I love the heck out of it. Frankly, Mr. Shankly, I love what Johnny Marr does. He's like, I'm not going to use power chords, no rock star tricks. This is just going to be me doing a lot of short notes. I can't even say it. Arpeggiated short notes, and then the lyrics: "A flatulent pain in the ass, such a bloody awful poet." This is, and then at the end they're like, "Give us money." It's so great. It's classic Morrissey, where he's mocking himself, but he's also mocking like the guy that he doesn't want to become. He's this artist and he's got to work for this guy, but then again, that guy's figured it out. You don't pick that thing, but that's how you make your money. And Morrissey needs that guy, but he hates him, and he also doesn't want to become it. So it's just this great whole thing with Frankly Mr. Shankly. I love it. 10-9 for the Cure, though, because Pictures of You is just, it's beautiful. It's a love song, and I like love more than I like the snark that comes from. It's a very close round, if you can't tell, but I like the love more than I like the snark. Corey?
Yeah, I would have to agree. Pictures of You, it's kind of almost a throwback Cure song where they, kind of stuck to their strengths. It really sets a mood. And if you let yourself get taken by the mood, you can just kind of flow with the entire song and feel where he's going with it. It's one of the best songs on the album in my opinion. And then you have, Frankly Mr. Shankly, which, God, I love that song. It's such just a stripped down song. In my interpretation of it is basically, someone's also trying to be famous. And it's funny how it kind of holds up if you read the lyrics and basically kind of put the narcissism of some social media together. It still holds up real well after all these years. But I did have to give it to Pictures of You 10-9 over Frankly Mr. Shankly.
A close round. Man, why was that round so close, Corey?
Because honestly, well, for me, that was actually one. I was almost 10 out of 10 on that. But Frankly Mr. Shankly, it's one of my favorite songs. But the other one, it's there's other ones. It's just the lyrics usually get to me. But the Cure with that one, they really pulled it out with the mood, the music, the lyrics, everything about it, kind of a mid-tempo sort of thing, which I generally prefer. So I really liked it.
All right. Well, let's go round 3, Close Down versus I Know It's Over. So for I Know It's Over, we've heard from Johnny, we've heard from Rourke, and now we get to hear a little bit of Mike Joyce cross-sticking and kind of giving Morrissey, the crooner, some space to do what he does. And anytime you can give Morrissey a lot of space to sing and be clever, even Mr. Clever Pants, he's got his mom talking to him and tell him, if you're so clever, if you're so this, you're so that, why aren't you out with someone? And then, Morrissey, ever the shoegazer, is just dumping dirt on his head, going, I'm so dirty. So I just, I love the arrangement. I love all the things, because Johnny Marr, not just, he'll play flute, he'll play everything, he'll arrange strings in, he'll do everything. And so just their ability to do what they do and that badass bass line, I just love this song so much more than Close Down. It just, I had nothing really for Close Down. So for me, this is Smith's 10-9. Corey?
Yeah, what I have for this on Close Down, I have, as has been said, the long intros. Again, for me, this one was similar to Plain Song in that it was sort of a movie mood song, for me. And then you have I Know It's Over. It's like such a great song. I can feel the soil falling over my face, Basically,
yes.
I thought, actually, it's a stripped down sort of, it builds a bit. I was singing along with it. It's a death song, but I'm singing along with it. But I actually thought that really, reading the lyrics and everything else, honestly, The Cure should cover that song. It's a perfect Cure song.
Hey, you're right. That's a great call.
But
yeah.
I did have to go with the Smiths. I Know It's Over, 10-9 over Close Down.
Mike, what did you do?
So round 3 is going to be kind of short for me. Neither one of these songs really grabbed me. And I don't think either album has a bad track, but I would put both of these at kind of the bottom third if I ranked the songs, best to worst. I Know It's Over just is a bit too slow and a bit too sad Morrissey for me. And while The Queen Is Dead is a longer song, this one feels like it's a longer song, just listening to them both. While Close Down, the singing starts way in at the 2-minute mark of a 4-minute, 20-second song. It's good, but not great. It's a lot like Plain Song. It's really not charting any new territory here. But it felt slightly tighter, I think, than the Smiths song, at least to my ears. So another close round, not close for good reasons, but close because neither song really spoke to me. But I gave this one to The Cure, just edging out the Smiths 10-9.
All right, moving right along. Round 4, Never Had One Ever versus Love Song. Corey, what do you think?
Let's see. Well, for Never Had No One Ever, it's a great song. I still would listen to that. I thought it was a little too stripped down. I think they needed a little something else in there. Love Song, it's a great song. It's one of their best songs on there. It definitely was more poppy than some of the other stuff, which I think, even though Robert Smith and The Cure, they don't really like to do pop songs, but they do them very well.
That's true.
I would still listen to Love Song. I mean, I should put that into rotation. When I was listening to all the songs, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great song. I need to listen to that. So I have that. I have Love Song. I have The Cure 10-9 over the Smiths.
All right, Mike, how did you do round 4?
Never Had No One Ever is going up against a favorite song with personal meaning. So this poor thing really didn't have much of a chance coming out of the hopper. It's definitely a better song than the last track, far better musically. And I heard bass for kind of the first time on the album. I know there's a little bit of it in The Queen Is Dead, but the bass is featured more prominently. You get to hear Andy Rourke kind of showing his musical chops. And I think the Smiths as a band showed the musical chops a lot more on this track than on some of the other ones. But Love Song. So personal story here. The first time my wife and I ever went to a dance club, this was one of the first songs that we danced to. So this
and what
song
dance club was that, Mike?
God, I don't even remember.
Heather Farms, or was it Lips in Walnut Creek, or whatever it was?
No. This is when I met my wife. This was the 90s, not the 80s, man.
Okay, the song came out in like 86.
Yeah.
So this was, strangely enough, this came up in a club in the 90s when we're dancing. And I'm like, holy crap, they're playing The Cure here. But, we had a really great time together. This was when we were first courting. And this song has had a lot of meaning to my wife and I for 25 years now. So the song speaks to me in ways that it probably doesn't speak to a lot of other people, but I think it does speak to a lot of people. It's a well-constructed love song. The band works very seamlessly together. The words are meaningful without being trite. Smith sounds like he means the words he's singing, which is important when you're doing a love song. To me, this is an easy one for the Cure, 10-9, but I'm not going to do a knockdown just because I love the song so much, because I think the Smiths came up with a really good contender, just not good enough.
Well, sorry for screwing up your fancy romantic moment with your wife with our joke about Tiffany's and Lips and other farms.
No worries, man. No worries.
But, you know, we all know each other and go way back. And I know you were at Tiffany's or Lips, depending on which era it was before you met your wife. But that's neither here nor there. And by the way, if we're going to throw around some love song stuff, Pictures of You has a very positive meaning for me and my special someone, because it's one of her favorite songs. So I also was similarly pushed towards that song in a positive way. Let me do my round here for round 4. So more of the same here from the Smiths. It's a little bit dangerous, you know, in this approach. If they have so many tools, I don't want to hear a song like "I Know It's Over" again. They seem very similar to me. So that's the first thing. It's a little bit too close. No cross sticking from Joyce, but it's the same thing where they're really relying on Morrissey to croon them out of it. Later on, the piano comes in and there's a lot more going on, but it's really late in the game, and it's almost like the Smiths are taking a round off and then they come in the last 35 seconds and try to steal the round with a flurry of sort of fake activity, but which just wasn't, like you, Mike, I just wasn't touched very much by this song. It was just like too much of the same 2 times in a row versus, well, love song, and this is a pillar song that the Cure can play for the rest of their life and will absolutely cash the checks for the rest of their life too as they come in. I can just picture Robert Smith as his hands, you know, kind of close to his face and his elbows tucked in like he likes to do, or his arms out wide doing his little dancey thing. But this is just a fantastic song. I love everything about it. I love that Lowell gets credited for other instrument because, like Mike said, he was getting fired out of there. And then Pearl Thompson is fantastic. Thompson is fantastic on the guitar solo, and just how he picks his notes out. It's just fantastic. This is damn close to a knockdown for me, but I respect what the Smiths do so much that I won't do that to them. So it's 10-9 Cure. And let's go on to round 5.
Now, talking about a knockdown, though, we do need to call out a certain person on the CompuBox scores.
All right, who do you want to call out?
Yeah, Kurt Gomez. What the hell, man? 10-7?
10-7. He did not
He did.
Never had one ever. So, yeah, Kirk, it's his first time scoring, so we got to give him a little credit here to learn the feel for it and everything. And he also scored right before we were doing this, so he went through quickly. But he apparently does not like that song. So, you know, I got no problem with the knockdown, and if he wants to call it a super knockdown.
Yeah, but that's not a knockdown. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a knockdown.
That's a double knockdown. That's
a knockdown, plus they took a point away.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, for headbutting, or hitting a little belt or something.
Too much headbutting. Stop headbutting, Morrissey.
Yeah.
Let's do round 5, Lullaby versus Cemetery Gates. Go ahead, Mike.
Cemetery Gates. Very short but enjoyable song. I really, really like the wordplay. I know that's Morrissey's thing, is the clever words. But this is one that really does a great job, where he's thrown out. Keats and Yates are on your side, hanging out at the cemetery. Things are dark, so let's go to the cemetery and have fun. The whole song just is so light and cheery in a mood, and then you listen to the words and it's kind of not. Then Lullaby, which is also a really, really great song, and it's been a favorite of mine for years. The whispering voice, I think, detracts from it a little bit, but musically, putting the two of these together, I think that Lullaby is just a slightly stronger song overall, just barely. So in the end, I gave this one to Spider-Man and The Cure, 10-9.
I like it. I like that a lot. Corey?
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Lullaby, it's sort of the classic mid-tempo Cure again, where they kind of go back to their bread and butter. It's a great song. It works on all the Cure levels for me. Cemetery Gates it's a great song too, where you say Keats and Yeats are on your side while Wilde is on mine. I mean, referencing three authors like that, it's pretty great. It's like nerdcore before nerdcore existed, you know?
This episode of the Break It Down Show is brought to you by Lions Rock Productions.
That's us.
We publish, evaluate, and develop podcasts just like this one, consult others to build their own, and create associated content and content marketing strategies.
So if you're launching or expanding your social media presence, your business or your personal brand, or if you just want to take your media presence to the next level,
reach out to us on Twitter
at Pete A. Turner
or at JohnLG69
at the Break It Down Show.
There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of us.
Now enjoy the show.
Cemetery Gates it's a great song too, where you say Keats and Yeats are on your side while Wilde is on mine. I mean, referencing three authors like that, it's pretty great. It's like nerdcore before nerdcore existed, you know? But in the sum, I would have to give it to The Cure 10-9.
All right, well, so Lullaby first, that whispery voice that Mike talked about, and it creeps around in stereo, so it's fantastic. I like it a lot. This song is meant to be a little bit creepy, and whether if it's like up by the nut of the guitar or if it's key related, it's probably done on the keys. Those notes are great. That it's just such a cool song, and that'll always play, and it's fantastic. It's such a fun, interesting thing to do, and what a fucked up lullaby to sing to your kid. Like if you want to make like a Stephen Davis from Korn, you lock him in the closet for a weekend with the ham when you go out and you gamble, and you come back and you sing him that lullaby to make him calm before he goes to bed, and then we get Korn out of it. It's so good. So Spider-Man jamming his finger in your eye and telling you not to struggle, it's too late. Dark and sinister. I love that shit. I love it. Like Corey said, Yeats, Keats, and Wilde all referenced, and don't you dare go quote those guys and not give them credit because some big nose dude. And I don't know if that's like a sideways reference at someone's ethnicity or something. I'm not even going to touch it too much, but I'm going to go, that's kind of a weird way to do it. Maybe there's some alternate meaning for big nosed, and that I don't know, but maybe the guy's a Roman, maybe he's French, who knows what it is.
Right.
But anyhow.
I was wondering about that myself.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't want to make it any worse than that. I'm assuming that he wanted to put an image of a guy together that they ran into along the way. But it's a good song, and it fits perfect in a rom-com for that weird kid that takes that weird girl on a date, and it's just, it's fantastic. Lullaby is so good, though. I think Lullaby is more fun. I'm going to go with that. I really struggled with this round, but I'm going to go 10-9 for The Cure. Let's go round 6. Big Mouth Strikes Again versus Fascination Street. Corey?
All right. Well, I got Fascination Street. It's another long intro. It's a 5-minute song. The lyrics come in about halfway in. That was sort of what happened on a lot of these songs, and you almost wanted to just skip. I think I actually did on that one. Like, when the hell do they start singing? It took a long time, but it's a great song. But it's so long of an intro. Big Mouth Strikes Again. It's one of my favorite Smiths songs. It's pretty poppy. It's kind of a pop song for the Smiths. Big Mouth Strikes Again, one of my favorite songs. Takes the round 10-9.
Like it. All right. Round 6 for me, Big Mouth Strikes Again. I was only joking when I said I want to smash every tooth in your head. And I can totally see this guy pleading to his girlfriend about it. And how about the Walkman reference? And Joan of Arc all getting thrown together in the same little section of the song.
And they talked about noses again.
They did talk about Joan of Arc's nose.
With the Roman
that's
nose.
What made me wonder. Yeah, that's what made me wonder, like, if it was like something about her heritage or something that he didn't like. I don't know. Maybe it was just a weird thing with the order of the song. I didn't realize they'd sung about someone's nose 2 songs in a row. The Smiths are clearly super hip. So here's the thing. Chris Gutierrez from Benicia told me when I was in middle school, he's like, you don't know about the Smiths, then you don't know what you're talking about. You're not cool. And I'm like, well, I better get on the Smiths right now. And he was right. I love it. And that was early. I mean, that's
way early.
Way early, right? Yeah. Maybe 83. So for him to say that, I was like, man, I better pay attention. Johnny Marr's all over this song. The backup singers are great. They're great. I kind of picture them being like kids, and they're sort of mocking him in some way, like, he's this tormented soul who, wants to smash his girl in the face and bludgeon her in bed. And there's sort of this mocking schizophrenic kind of personality kind of thing that happens. I don't know. Either way, it was really a great vibe that they put together, and I really loved, especially the backup singers. Was really the thing that I said, okay, this is different. Like you guys have said over and over again, and I was trying to not let this bug me. But in this format, this is what happens. You know, you listen to an album and you're like, and another 15-bar intro. This could be a 2-minute, 30-second song. And even if they cut the intro down by half and just covered the ground they needed to cover and then let Robert Smith sing a little more or something, do something with some of that time. It's just, the song's dancey and the words are fine and everything else is there, but Big Mouth Strikes Again is a hit. Fascination Street is okay and it's dancey and it's fun, but God damn, that intro is so long, and there's been so many long intros. So I had to go 10-9 Smiths. Mike?
I hear you on that. So Fascination Street, to me, is one of those songs from Disintegration that I really liked from the start. I do like the intro. It is a little on the long side, but one of the things that I like about the intro is that Simon Gallup, who hasn't really been featured much, the bass player, does some really great bass work in this intro. And it brought me back to Primary, an early song from The Cure, where there's a lot of bass and he really plays it hard. So I gave him a pass on that long intro because I've always liked it. And that song has stuck with me, and I've heard him do it in concert, and they play the crap out of it every time. I think sometimes when you hear a band do a song live and they're really into it and they have a lot of energy in it, it makes you like the song more when you hear it again. And that's what worked for me here, because it's going up against one of my favorite Smith songs, Big Mouth. This is a classic Smith song. I've always loved it. Very tongue-in-cheek lyrics with a very wicked sense of humor. You know, Pete, you brought up I'd like to smash every tooth in your head. That's just funny.
And bludgeon you in your bed. Just in case you weren't getting enough murder references. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Hey, before we get into the what I'm now calling the Burford round 7, because Scott has accurately pointed out that bands seem to stumble in these rounds. Let's just kind of check in with what you think is happening here. Corey, what's your sense now that we're 6 rounds in and, you know, we're looking at the last 4 rounds? What do you feel like is happening in this fight?
Yeah, you know, I've personally had an issue with just the Smiths, usually with the long intros. I know Mike, he has a good point about the musicality of it, but boy, just when I was re-listening to them, those were getting to me, you know?
Yeah, and then for those to understand, so Corey had a detached retina, I think sophomore year in high school,
yep.
And he had to lay flat on his back for what seemed like an eternity.
It was 14 days, flat on my back.
14 days, yeah. And then he wasn't allowed to do anything, like don't even sneeze, don't even a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah, so don't even use the bathroom, really. They didn't even want you to sit up.
Yeah,
limited.
And so Corey and I and other people would come, and we would sit by his bedside, which was right by the TV, and we watched Standing by the Sea, the videos.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over and never got sick of it. I mean, we loved it. It was great. So when Corey says he's sick of the Cure's long intros, it's understand that, you know, he loves this band.
I do.
Mike, what about you?
The intros are starting to wear on me a little bit by round 7, which, by the way, my score for round 6 was 10-9 Cure by a Roman nose. I think we forgot to mention the score there.
Racist.
Yeah. Well, I'm Italian, so I get to be racist.
I know you're Italian. Paisan. Me too.
Yes, Corey has Italian roots. Sicilian roots, right, Corey?
Yeah.
No, I think it's actually Roman.
Yeah, no, I'm more Sicilian, actually, so you can be mad.
You're not even in Sicily. You're off in some islands up north, like wearing a grass skirt. What's the Italian version of a grass skirt?
I don't know.
A dress.
A pesto skirt.
Yeah. All right, fellas, let's move it along here. Round 7, the Burford round. Prayers for Rain versus The Boy with a Thorn in His Side. All right, so look, here's the thing. Another multi-bar intro from the Cure. This is fine on a Rush album if you want to wear a black shirt and be like, Rush fucking rocks. They can play all they want, not do anything. Like, that's great. That's just not going to work with the Cure. We've heard this over and over and over again. The string arrangement that comes in later on, that's all fine. All that stuff is good, but it's just so much of this. It's the same thing done over and over again that in this format, it's just not helping. I do like late in the song where the droning bass all of a sudden takes a darker tone, or they changes keys and gets lower. But I'm not sure if the Spider-Man reminiscent arpeggiated, I can't say that word tonight, short notes are working in this song as well as they did in Lullaby. So this song is good, but it, like Mike's always saying, it needs a 2-minute haircut. It's just too long. Whereas The Boy with the Thorn in His Side, I'm like, better! Yes! I'm actually enjoying listening to this. Johnny and Steven, that's Morrissey's real name, are perfect right here. Doing exactly what they need to do. They're mocking their industry that they're being successful at in spite of what their industry thinks of them. And, the music, everything about it is great. The lyrics, it's fantastic. So for me, because I'm fully sick of multi-bar intros and I've just had enough of it, this is a 10-8 round for me. 10-8 for the Smiths. Ooh. Mike?
Well, this is where I start to get ear fatigue. I was saying a little earlier, by round 7, I'm not even counting how long it takes for the singing to start anymore because it's just taking too long. Prayers is not a bad song, but really, really needed some editing really badly. It's mid-tempo and it drags in the middle 2 to 3 minutes pretty badly. I think this would be a much better song if they cut a couple minutes out, and it would have been able to compete. Boy with the Thorn in His Side is another really clever song, which the Smiths, as I said before, are really good at. But I really also like Johnny Marr's guitar work. It's that great jangly guitar. He does a lot of staccato notes in here, which are really cool. I like those. This was an easy win for the Smiths, 10-9.
Corey, you like a mid-tempo tune. What did you think of this round?
Well, on my notes here, especially for Prayers for Rain, basically I wrote a bad 808. Their drum machine was horrid. Horrid. It made me. I don't know. On my notes, I say I couldn't wait for it to end. It was a boring song to me, And The Boy with the Thorn in His Side. It's almost. It's hard to ascribe meaning to what they're actually saying. But if you listen to the lyrics, it could even be a love song. But it was, even though they talk about like murderous desire, it seems like a Morrissey love song. So I gave that one. I actually 10-8. So it's my first knockdown.
Nice, a knockdown. I like it. I wanted to say this too. Both of these bands have very dark themes in the songs, but sometimes they'll have like an up-tempo-y kind of fun, bright song, and they're singing about bashing their girlfriend's head in. It's weird. They're like sometimes the melody and the tone of the song don't align, and I'm not sure if it's on purpose or if it just, it's just one of those things. Because a lot of times when that happens in the album fight, you're like, wait, you're singing about how much you love this girl, but it's this that. It's like a minor chord or something where it's got this darker tone to it. So it's interesting that you pointed that out because I definitely felt the same thing a couple times on this album. Let's get into round 8. Vicar in a Tutu versus The Same Deep Water as You. Go ahead and take that one on, Mike.
If Prayers for Rain drags, The Same Deep Water crawls. This is a 9.5 minute long song. It's just too much song. I like The Same Deep Water as You. It's a good song. But it really feels like Prayers for Rain, too. It's not significantly different. This song could have lost 2, 3, 4 minutes and been much better for it. I don't have a whole lot more to say about it. Again, I can listen to Disintegration all the way through. I don't skip songs. But in this format, it just was dragging, and I was waiting for it to end so that I could rate the next song. And the next song was Vicar in a Tutu. The cleverness is getting a bit stale, but the title and the image it throws into your brain alone is enough to win the round. Smith's 10-9.
All right. I like it. Corey, what about you?
Okay, so I had, on the Same Deep Water as You, it's like I said, a 9-minute song, over a 9-minute song. It was long. My notes are, I really felt like they just put that one on for filler. They're like, we have 9.5 minutes. We need to put something here. They're like, all right, what about The Same Deep Water as You? Great. Throw it in. And then you have Vicar in a Tutu, which is a great song. And I was actually, listening to it, re-listening to it over, it's been 30 years. It's actually a country song, which cracked me up.
No kidding.
I mean, the guitar that they went in there was like with a twangy guitar. Uh-huh. And I hadn't remembered that, and it was unlike any of the other songs on the album. So if you really listen to it, I mean, country might be the wrong term, but it definitely had a twang guitar like you're used to for country and western. But I have that as Vicar in a Tutu, 10-9.
All right, so for me, round 8, I felt like Vicar in a Tutu was the Smiths' weakest song. And I'm saying weakest. I'm not saying that it's bad, but it's catchy. But what's really happening here is there's a lot of mid-round fatigue going on. So maybe if this song was earlier in the list, it wouldn't suffer from this. But I'm sort of just, I'm over, well, the Cure have worn me out completely. And you're right, this was a long song, The Same Deep Waters. I wanted to celebrate Pearl Thompson for his great work on the guitar with the Cure and all of the things that he does. And just talk about the guys in that genre who, you know, The Edge, Johnny Marr, of course, Peter Buck from REM, John Ashton from the Psychedelic Furs, guys who just refuse to do the normal thing, and they kind of all group together into this genre and to make similar music. And I just think it's fantastic. And so I enjoyed what Pearl was doing enough to take a song that was a bit of a slip for the Smiths for me and give Cure, and they're already smashing me on the head with these long songs anyhow, so I was able to withstand it going, that's just what they're going to do. And so I came out of this with a 10-9 for the Cure, but I'm not sure I'm right about that. I'm sticking with it because it's on my scorecard, but I think you guys might be right. I might just be so pissed off about how long these songs are that I took it out on the Smiths in this one of their first time, and they kind of missed. Let's get into the penultimate round. Let's go ahead and go round 9. Disintegration versus There Is a Light That Never Goes Out. Corey, good luck.
Thank you. You know, Disintegration, I really don't have too many notes. I mean, like you say, the fatigue. I start getting the notes get less, and the note is long intro. You know? It's a good song, but then you have the light that never goes out. And if a 10-ton truck kills the both of us, to die by your side while the pleasure and the privilege is mine, that just takes it for me right there. You can't get too much of a better lyric than that. So I had to have that 10-9.
All right. Well, let me tell you what I did. Same thing. Another long multi-bar intro. Nothing really wrong with this song. It's just, you know, I'm worn out. What makes the song good? Disintegration good. The bass and the keys and the distance they create between one another, which gives Robert Smith the ability to do something, but he's lost in the mix. I don't know if you guys felt this, and you have to tell me what you think, but I'm like, where's Robert in this? Why isn't he up higher up singing up above the space they created? But they didn't, so I just don't feel like they got to I know where the Cure can get to. This isn't it, and that I've learned this a lot from the album fights. When you hear the band miss, you have to penalize them for it, even if it's a good song. And this song's fine, but I don't know. Did you guys hear Robert Smith very well in this song, or is that just my blown up ears?
I think he's a little low in the mix. You're right. Now that I think back on it, it didn't bother me to the degree it bothered you. But yeah, I think you're right. It's a little lower in the mix. They did focus more on instruments and singing.
Well, so let's just talk real quick about a really, really special song, and There Is a Light That Never Goes Out. This is one of those songs that defines an emotional time that doesn't often get looked at. I mean, there's this dude and this girl, and he's trying to figure out, and he's like, hell, if I died right now, I'd be pretty happy. I can't go home. You know, Bono explores, there's a lot of people explore this I can't go home thing. I'd rather be with you. But in this case, Morrissey's too much of a pussy to actually, you know, make a move on this girl or talk to her. But he's totally happy to die with her. And I love that moment. It's sort of like, you remember like in The Wonder Years when Fred Savage, when his character would make that bold move and he would go after Winnie? I was always like, God, that guy, man, he does it. He's not afraid. The opposite of that is what Morrissey is, where he's like, I'm going to stand next to Winnie, but I just want to die with her. I can't ask her to dance. So I love that. I love that they capture that, because everybody goes through something like that, whether it's a double-decker bus, a 10-ton truck. I love all of it. I don't love Disintegration. For me, I'm going to put the Cure on their knee again because they keep doing these damn long intros, and I'm fully sick of it. So 10-8 Smiths. Michael, what do you have?
you're just letting Robert get his ass kicked here. There's a Light That Never Goes Out. Might be my favorite Smith song, period. The lyrics, you guys quoted all the great lyrics, so I don't have a whole lot to add to that. But it's still about being in love. I mean, it's a song about being in love. Even if you're too much of a wimp to talk to the girl, you're still in love. You've ever been in love, you can relate to this song. And Morrissey is not being too Morrissey in this song. It just flat out works. It's always worked for me. I've always been, been touched by this song. Whereas Disintegration, I know what they're trying to do. This is a ladder song, right? This is one of those songs where the band is trying to climb a ladder and get to an apex. And it just doesn't work. You can see when you listen to it, you can kind of take it apart, disassemble it a little bit, and you can see what they're trying to do. But at 8 minutes, it just meanders. It really does. A lot of editing would have made this a tremendous song, because there's the roots of a tremendous song in there. They just don't make it work. So for that, this is an easy round for me. I don't go 10-8. I was thinking about it, but I go 10-9 in favor of Smiths.
Well, let's get into the last round and let's see what happens here. We're going to let you go last, Corey, so I'll lead us off. Round 10, Some Girls Are Bigger Than Others versus Untitled. Okay, well, the Untitled song. I guess we'll talk about the song order in a little bit. There's a lot of different versions of this album, and when Mike and Richard and the rest of us talked about what to do about that, we went with the original vinyl release, so Untitled makes the cut. There are other songs from this album, but they weren't on the original, so that's what we're sticking with. Untitled could easily be an R.E.M. song, and probably should have been. They probably would have done a better job because they would have kept it nice and short. I love the toms on the drums for a choice. I think that's great. But basically, the bottom line is this. This song is not Some Girls Are Bigger Than Others. I love this jaunty song. It's always stuck with me. I love the guitar. I love the bass. Also an R.E.M. song. I mean, easily, this song could be from Fables of the Reconstruction, which happens to be from 1985 also. So I don't know what all of these guys were listening to, but in these three songs right here, we have very similar sounds from that era, from those three bands, The Cure, The Smiths, and R.E.M. So I like that. I like Some Girls Are Better Than Others. I'm really going to just, I'm over the long, drawn-out intros from The Cure, and as much as I love them, for me, this is The Smiths 10-9. Michael, what do you have?
Well, you know how for some reason there's that deep track from a band that appeals to you for reasons you can never actually put your finger on? And I'm sure, Pete, you've got a U2 song that's a deep track from an album that nobody thinks about, but for some reason you just like it. Untitled is that for me, for The Cure. And I think it starts out simple keys. It's pretty stripped down compared to the rest of the album. And given the tone of the album, it's definitely the right way to end it. The outro is a bit long. The intro is actually a little bit shorter than some of the other songs. But the outro is long, but I really like how it just pairs it back down to those simple keys at the end. For some reason, I've just always liked this song. And it was one of those that I put on mixtapes a lot, that people would say, what the hell is Untitled The Cure? Like, just listen to it. And Some Girls is a bit uneven. I think the fade in, fade out, fade back in at the beginning of the track always threw me off a little bit. It almost feels like a We Need a Tenth. To me, not quite filler, but not as good as some of the other jaunty, clever songs from the album. So for me, this is a closer round, but I gave it to The Cure 10-9.
Corey, close us out. What did you hear?
Okay, so The Cure, Untitled. It's a good song. It's one of those mellow songs again. For me, it's like, if you still were sort of depressed in high school, it's a great song. Problem is, I'm not depressed anymore, so it kind of doesn't speak to me the same way it probably did 30 years ago, right? Some Girls Are Bigger Than Others. It does do that odd fade-out thing. I mean, I forgot about that because I think you used to check my radio. You go, oh, shoot, is there something wrong with my speakers? What's going on? Why is it fading out? No, that's actually in the song. And then I was looking at the lyrics on it. It is, basically they just say some girls are bigger than others over and over and over and over again. I mean, literally, that's like the entire lyric. So I have down, it's pretty simplistic lyrics, but it works for me. So I give that one 10 over Untitled 9. So I give the Smiths that round.
I like it. That's some great stuff. So it looks like we've got a closed out fight. Let's real quick go to the scorecard and take a look at what we've got. So Corey has it 97-92 in favor of the Smiths. Mike Lipari had it 96-94 going for The Cure. I had the split decision deciding vote, and I went, just like Corey, in the same range, 96-92, going for the Smiths. So we've got the Smiths as a winner. Let's hear Richard's analysis real quick. Richard?
The prediction was 6 rounds to 4 and a split decision. On official cards, we got 287 to 280, which comes out to a 96 to 93 average score, which is essentially 6 rounds to 3. Close enough. And yes, we had a split decision. The patent pending process nailed it. I did an unofficial scorecard, and while I did agree with the numbers, let me say that the rounds were as close as I can remember in any fight, and one could make the argument that these albums are pretty much equals. But let's look into it a little deeper and see why the Smiths took this one. Both albums took 7 of their 9 expected rounds, but in the common expected round, round 6, the Smiths took 2 of those 3 points. But where the big difference shows up is in knockdowns. The Smiths, impressively, was never knocked down on the official scorecards. The Cure, though, were knocked down 3 times in the fight. And that right there cost them this match. It was a great one. I enjoyed listening to every single minute of it. Close one. Smiths deservedly won. Back to you guys.
Yeah, those ties in the analysis kind of forced Richard to go into a danger zone where he's got to stick it out there. And, of course, Richard always knows what he's doing, so we appreciate his nailing it as always. Fellas, what do you think? Corey, what are your thoughts now that we've seen a split decision?
I enjoyed the process a lot. You know, that's a little weird going back because it's been so long since I've listened to these albums. It was really a treat to be able to listen to them again and kind of go back in time a bit. Thought it was a great process. This album fights. It's pretty cool little thing you guys are doing. I like it.
Thanks, man. Mike, what do you think?
Well, I think you're fucking wrong, Pete.
Of course, you got to say that.
Of course. I really think that Disintegration was just a right place, right time album for me back when it came out in '89. So I think I have a little bit more of a connection to the album, which made it harder for me to score against it. I don't think that the fight came out wrong. I just think that I have a little bit more love in my heart for Disintegration than The Queen is Dead.
So how do you actually fight against personal bias when you do these? Because I know I was against that. I mean, I actually had the scores a little more far apart, and I thought, well, that's my bias for this song. So then I would actually try and normalize it, and I don't know if that's the way to go or not.
I try to. I really do.
A little more personal, but because they're personal to you, you know, but yet it was one of their most, you know, maybe a song I didn't like, but it was actually their top song on the thing. So obviously people liked it, but I maybe didn't. Yeah. So how do you deal with those questions?
Yeah, I think.
Well, in Mike's defense, you know, part of his muse is his wife. She's there in the house, and you know, obviously the Cure spoke to him when they were meeting up and everything in that club, you know, back in the olden times. So, you know, there she is walking around. She embodies these songs for him too. So that'd be a hard
I imagine
thing.
that happens with all the album fights because you have, you know, certain things that you associate music with certain things in your life at times, and if one of those is up for album fight, there's no way, you know, you're going to vote against it.
Yeah, see, Corey, this album fight was a little bit different. In previous ones, I've had connections to one album and none to another. And then it's really easy to remove the bias because you know it's there for the one, and the other one is kind of newer to you. You don't really know it as well. And so you listen to the songs as fresh ears. You try to do the same with the one that you know that you have the bias towards. This one, I actually have bias for both of these albums. So they happen at different parts of my life, but I think I was just a little bit more connected to Disintegration. And there were a lot of close rounds where the tiebreaker for me went Cure and the tiebreaker for you guys went Smiths. And I think that's really where that connection to the song came in and had me leaning more towards the Cure, which is why we got a split decision.
Well, I actually thought when Pete told me the albums or just it was Cure versus Smiths, I'm like, oh, well, geez, the Cure's going to kill the Smiths. Because I do like the Smiths, but the Cure is such a body of work and everything. And then when the albums came out and then I started listening to the Smiths again, I'm like, oh, yeah, that song. Oh, wait, oh, that song. Oh, yeah, that song. The Smiths have great songs. His song, he can carry, like, unlike, say, Robert Smith, you know, great voice. It's a distinctive voice. I don't know if it's a great voice, but he has all the musicality behind it to kind of, you know, kick it up a notch. Whereas really with the Smiths, most of the songs, it was just like a guitar, a drum, and his voice. His voice carries more so. He carries the band more than I think Robert Smith does. And I think when he does it, when it comes out right, the Smiths win because of that.
Yeah. Well said. Well
yeah,
said.
I think you're right. Yeah, the Cure ultimately was the more successful band. They still put out music when they want to. They have more albums. But the Cure, it didn't quite have that thing that the Smiths had where they just were, I don't know, in my mind, they're just a cut above in terms of the highest heights. But, man, the Cure was right there with them and then got to that part of what they did more often for longer. And that's another interesting thing. Because really, who cares about anything that, for the most part, that Morrissey or Johnny Marr has done since then? You know, and when they do, it sounds like, oh, that's a Smith song that Morrissey's doing by himself. Right. So they captured something, but it wasn't very long. And, gosh, it's just that's a weird thing. I love doing these. Mike, will you do the disclaimer for us? I've never had anybody else do it, but I figured you know what to do.
We got to tell everybody listening to this show that we do this because we love these albums. We might be a little hard on a song here. We might be a little hard on a song there. But these albums, these bands are here for a reason. And the reason is that we love this music. And we strongly encourage you guys to go out, spin these up on Spotify, go out and download them, pay these artists the money that they so sorely deserve for having enriched our lives with their music.
And go see them if they come around. I looked up, the Cure is touring in 2019, but only in Europe so far.
Yeah, well, let's give them a reason to come to the States.
Remember when we were in Vegas, when we showed up in Vegas last time, they were there, but we couldn't get tickets.
Oh, that would be amazing. Their latest album is not that bad. It's pretty damn good, as a matter of fact.
How long are the intros?
Shorter, much shorter.
Thank God. Thank God.
I do think if I listened to the songs in the reverse order, it would have, just like you said, there was just a little, you were getting tired of the long intros on the Cure side.
For sure, song order
probably
matters.
Put a bias in for me. I was like, again?
Yeah, I definitely got worn out. That's one of the things with these, like the weird things that happen, you know, these coincidences between songs, and it's crazy. So only in the album fight do these kind of things happen. Corey, you had a good time, I'm assuming. Will you come back and do another one?
If you want an uninformed person to talk smack, sure. I'm down for that.
All right.
Hey, you did damn good for an uninformed person, Corey, gotta say.
Right on.
Yeah, you did great. And as always, I like to say, like, you guys legitimately friends of mine. I have known you guys since Corey since the 70s. And Mike, it's got to be the 70s for us too, right?
About second grade, I think, is when we first met.
Because you were in Robert Semple,
right?
Yeah, so I've known you. Yeah, I've known you forever as well. So Corey and I were 5 door down neighbors, and Mike and I have known each other just as long. So it's incredible to be able to do this with you guys. It's great to have Corey and I be able to, do the radio show thing years and years later, and probably somewhere in my mom's garage. You guys know what that looks like. We got
to find one of those tapes. And we, to be fair though, it didn't feel the same without the Muppet theme.
Yeah. That's true. And our song, meow, meow, woof, woof, ribbit, crack, quack.
Yes, that's right. Well, we would start off the show by singing the Muppet theme. It's time to put on makeup. It's time to light the lights.
It's time to get things started. So why don't we get things started?
On the Pete and Corey show tonight.
Most incredible. It's totally true. So somewhere that's out there. And if I can find it in my mom's garage, and she probably can put her fingers on it if I ask her nice, but... Yeah, it's cool to be able to do this with you guys, and I care about you guys deeply, and thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. It's full circle for me. It was great.